A little bit about policy level changes since the several matters came up with about policy level. So what are the policy level challenges and are there enough research work on these nature-based solution areas in Sri Lanka right now? What is the spirit?
I would start a little bit. Actually, in terms of policy level, I think we have existing tools from gazettes to acts to different policies being done in the country that may not be directly, but even directly, although they have not worded it directly, to solve some of the burning issues with nature pollution, such as we were at the room earlier discussing about the net zero 2050 agenda, as to how the country will become net zero. Net zero means we will be zero emissions, that is our net emissions, not the it doesn't mean that we are not going to emit any carbon at all, but how do we become net zero 2050? And how do we achieve our NDCs in 2030, nationally determined commitments, which Senimata was talking about a little while ago. And we have our climate change policy, which is being reviewed right now and probably will be published very soon. The initial publication was in 2016, I believe, the climate change policy, or 2012. And now there are many other nature-based, solution-oriented policy papers like the National Forestry Master Plan, and then you have catchment conservation policy. If you look at the policies and the policy environment and the documents, the legislative environment, the legal documents, the legalities of what we are talking right now is ample. Although the word directly NBS or nature-based solutions may not be mentioned in there. What we could actually strive to do is to see if we can create an ecosystem, a policy ecosystem, where we can get nature-based solutions integrated in the development agenda. Let's say, for instance, National Physical Plan, NPP, or we look at Land Use Policy Plan of Sri Lanka, how our land should be managed, and protected area management plans, for instance, or BOI, for instance, Board of Investment, should look at how BOI could be more in line with nature-based solutions, inviting or creating a space for nature-based solutions to come up. Say, for instance, if somebody, now I have a friend who does this fantastic product called, I'm not doing any advertising, even if I do advertising, it is very good, I think. Eco 360, I think, yeah, Eco 360, which is an alternative to polythene. Now, what he does is that he uses manioc starch and produces perfectly polythene-looking bag. It is not polythene, but it looks like polythene, works like polythene. Right now, one of the supermarkets, I'm not going to name that supermarket now, one of the supermarkets is right now using to wrap all of their fish and meat products this particular polythene alternative. Now, how can we create a policy environment and an ecosystem where the government, looking at these individual investors and probably BOI projects or foreign direct investment, how can we incentivize nature-based solutions? Is something that we should, in my opinion, look at. And also we have to have a system where, when it comes to development, anybody here is from around Hasalaka, Naminioya, that area, or Mahiyangoya for that matter? Anybody here know? Or anybody here who have seen World Bank funded tank restoration projects like Vaugam, for instance. Is anybody aware of tank restoration projects? Well, let me also ask you, have you seen Tissavawa in Qatar on the way to Qataragama before, probably 6-7 years before and now? Did anybody notice differences? Okay, maybe not. Right. The point I want to highlight is that there is so many developmental projects that happens in the country with various funding, whether it could be World Bank, ADB, I don't know, any other direct government fund. And you look at some of these projects, the way they are being done is completely destructive and completely anti-nature-based solutions. For instance, some of these tank restorations, they remove the entire earthen bank and make it concrete or metal or rocks or sometimes mostly concrete and remove all the trees on the tank, around the tanks. Now these trees were there for 500 years, if not more than that. And now they say the modern technology, modern whatever that says, is that having trees on these tank rounds or tank bunds, I would say, is actually deteriorating the dam, which has not happened for the tanks that existed thousands of years. And if you ask an expert of irrigation canals, tanks and all of that, I did it myself, and most of them, these engineers don't even believe in them. But this is sometimes the European science or the European way of development that we have adopted. But Europe is actually moving backward, and they actually, for instance, undamming majority of their rivers. For instance, in US itself in 2016 to 2019, there have been 62. If you see, most of our canals, most of our streams, most of our waterways are now being concreted. How does the lateral flow happen? Do you know what lateral flow is? The lateral flow is that when water runs from a river or a stream or a canal or something like that, it is earthen banks. Earthen in the sense, if you have soil in the banks, the water goes through a lateral flow, might feed into a well somewhere, might feed into a land, agala, ditch, something somewhere, might help the wetness on the ground on the next land or the lands nearby. So now we are concreting everything. These are not nature-based, these are actually wrong kind of development which we are embarking on and adopting on. I think we need to really look into this and see how can we probably introduce more nature-based oriented solutions in terms of, I don't know whether it's as a policy, whether it can be integrated in urban development policy, I don't know whether it can be integrated in the NPP, National Physical Plan, or anything like that, to see that we come up with more nature-based or nature-oriented solutions while we develop or while we set our development agenda.
Professor, what is the current status of research happening in Sri Lanka related to nature